I wanted to discuss the cardiac conduction system for my EMT students. This all starts in the upper right atrium with the Sinoatrial Node. And this is innervated, meaning there's nerves from both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system that go to this. And remember that if we stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, things are going to speed up. And if we stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, things are going to slow down. So normally there's a balance between the two, between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, and it keeps the heart rate at about 60 to 100 beats per minute. And the SA node is the primary pacemaker for the heart. So this is going to send out impulses about 60 to 100 times a minute. These impulses initially will travel through the intranodal pathways, and this will go to the left atrium and into the right atrium so that they both will contract at about the same times. And one of those pathways goes down to the Atrioventricular Node. Now the Atrioventricular Node also has nervous innervation from both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. And if the SA node or sinoatrial node ever fails, that part of the heart dies, maybe from a heart attack or something, then the AV node can take over. But that's only going to beat about 40 to 60 times a minute, which is enough to live on, but it's going to cause some issues. From there, it spreads down the bundle of His and splits into the left and right bundle branches. You may have heard of somebody that's had a bundle branch block, and that's what they're talking about. One of those bundle branches is blocked, not working. And at the very end of these, we have small fibers called the Purkinje Fibers. And this helps to spread the electrical impulses to all the cells of the ventricles at about the same time so they contract together. Now, the ventricles can contract on their own. If the SA node and the AV node both fail or are damaged and aren't working, as a last-ditch effort, the Purkinje fibers will begin to fire on their own. The ventricles will contract at a rate of about 20 to 40 times a minute, which again might be enough to live, but obviously if your heart rate's in the 20s, it's probably not going to be living well. But it is enough to at least keep things going for a little bit until we can get them help. Now remember that all the cells of the heart have this ability to generate their own electrical impulses. And sometimes we have an extra spot that begins to fire on its own. And if it's up here in the atria, we call that a premature atrial contraction. And that's oftentimes due to stress or caffeine or excitement. And sometimes you can feel that as a palpitation or a hard hit in the chest. Kind of feels like someone's thumped you. If that starts down in the ventricles, then we call it a premature ventricular contraction, or PVCs. You might hear the medics talk about PVCs from time to time. As long as it's coming from one spot, we call it a unifocal PVC. If it's coming from multiple locations, then we call it a multifocal PVC. And again, a lot of times these are due to caffeine or stress or excitement. But if somebody's having a heart attack or someone has blockage to one of the arteries to the heart, one of the coronary arteries, and the heart is becoming ischemic, then the ventricles may start, or the cells of the ventricles may start sending out their own electrical impulses, and then we have these multifocal PVCs. And if you have enough of these type things happen, then you can degenerate into ventricular fibrillation. So hopefully this will help explain the conduction system of the heart for your EMT students. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below.